Hi, welcome to another episode of Life Beyond the Scale with Jen and Aaron. Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Erin. Welcome. Today, we're talking about the pitfalls of weight loss. Why does weight loss, why do you feel like you keep failing even when you're trying hard? Most people don't struggle because they don't care. They struggle because motivation fades, the scale becomes the only measure of success, and real life gets in the way. Today, we're unpacking the real reasons we keep starting over and why motivation isn't enough and what actually works instead. Hi, everybody. It's Future Erin. I just wanted to jump on here to add a little bit of more information. We are sharing a joining link for Weight Watchers. It is one of the lowest we've ever seen, which is $19 a month for 10 months. It is a long-term agreement. And yes, we do earn a commission off of it if you do click on it. But if you've been thinking about coming back or trying Weight Watchers, we would love for you to join us. We believe it's a great program. Anyway, it's in the show notes.
Yeah, that's a lot, right? This time of year, there's no magic behind New Year's resolutions or making a plan on January 1st. There does, however, seem to be kind of that, I don't know if it's a quiet chaos, but kind of a lull between Christmas and New Year's where we're off work, kids are home, maybe we're traveling, returning from travel, whatever that might be. And it's just a nice time of reflection. But over the 20 plus years that Aaron and I have been, in the weight health industry, working for Weight Watchers, working as a personal health and wellness coach, all of these different aspects of our background, we kind of want to focus on the things that we've seen that are getting in the way of success, right? There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of podcasts out there this week on New Year's resolutions and goal planning. And we want to kind of take it to the other extreme to be like, we kind of know what we should be doing and what we want to be doing. But at the same time, we've kind of get a little bit of a chance to see it from both sides of the coin and can say from an outsider's perspective as well as personal experience and struggling with weight, the both of us have had, with crazy relationships with food or our body image or any of that. We kind of want to just look at it from the reality of why are we not finding success and why is there such thing as National Quitters Day? Why do we give up on these resolutions, these goals so quickly? And so here we are, two friends with many years of experience between us, learning how to be podcasters, learning how to just share our, I guess, I don't want to call it wisdom, but sharing our experiences.
Experience, yes.
Yeah, and hopefully some of this resonates and maybe there's a takeaway for you as our listener.
Think of us as your guinea pigs. We've made all the mistakes and we're still learning, but we're happy to share what we've learned so that maybe you don't have to make all the mistakes that we did. But, sometimes I have to backtrack it and say, you know what? Sometimes the mistakes are the best part. I know that's kind of a strange thing to say, but
No,
actually, that's where you really dig in and find out what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes that's when you have success right away and everything's going great. That's great. I think
yeah,
that's wonderful, but it doesn't always happen that way. So it's okay if things aren't going smoothly. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that we've noticed on our personal end and what we've seen with people we work with. So let's get
right.
started.
Right. What is that saying? Like without struggle, there can be no success.
Yes.
If we don't have the struggle, there's nothing to learn from. We don't even realize what is helping us succeed so that we can keep doing it. Right? Like, it just almost feels lucky, and then when life keeps lifing and throws us a curveball, we don't know what to go back to because
Mm,
we never learned from those challenges. So, I know there are many things that get in our way. Oftentimes, it's what's going on up here in our own heads, right? But we kind of maybe narrowed it down to what we're gonna call our top 3
yes.
that we have personally struggled with and what we see others struggle with. So, Erin, what do you think the first one is?
The first one, I believe, is people expecting results quickly and discounting when they are losing and when they are on the journey. They want things faster and bigger, which on a personal note, I completely
Of
understand.
course, right?
I'm with you on that one. I totally get it. However, it does tend to backfire for a lot of people because, for example, that first week is usually a bigger number. I remember 15 years ago, I think I lost 3 or 4 pounds. And I thought to myself, great, I'm going to get through this and be done with this, and I could be done with Weight Watchers.
Yeah. No.
No, there's no end. There is no end if you truly want to to take the weight off and keep it off. So
That's
that
why
was a
we
big
call it a lifestyle habit, right? Or a lifestyle. I guess we don't even call it a habit. We're just calling it, this is how I live now. This is how I eat now. This is how I move now. But instead, we often go after it like a diet and chasing the accolades from the scale or the praise of the scale, when
yes.
really losing 3 to 4 pounds a week is not realistic and probably wasn't fat that you lost that first week either.
And the longer it takes, the more you have an opportunity to learn. I know that that's probably going to be some people pushing back on, why would I want that? Well, you do want it because in order to keep your success going, there's certain things that you must go through to figure out what works for you. And the thing about it is that weight loss is extremely personal. What works for me doesn't work for Jen, doesn't work for anybody
Yeah.
else, but it works for me. So figuring out you and one of the wonderful things in the meeting is that we share ideas and you hear all these great things and then you go home and you try them and you think, are they crazy? This doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then you hear another idea, and then you're like, "Where has this been my whole life?"
And sometimes I think we hear the same idea, but we were just open to listening and actually absorbing it in that moment, where you
Yes.
just never know that kind of secret sauce of what's going to be shared that's going to impact you and what you need in that moment. And so, yeah, I totally agree. Of course, we would love to just sign up, pay a bill, and magically have the weight come off to continue to eat whatever garbage we were eating, but still see success. Like, yeah, like that's the wish, that's the hope. The reality behind weight loss, whether it's at the beginning of a new year or, on a random Tuesday in August,
Yes.
is it takes work. I think it's Rachel Hollis that has some type of quote that says, a goal is just a dream until you put your work boots on.
Boy, that's
And
true.
I'm probably screwed that up, so I apologize, Rachel. But it's something along that line of, we're gonna have to get dirty. You're gonna have to do the work. And so I can start the year off with this big goal, whether it's a weekly goal, by the end of the year goal, I have a dream goal when it comes to the scale. But unless I'm doing something about it, we're not gonna get there. And so that's probably the biggest challenge that we see is, okay, so I know what I want, but I don't know the steps to get there. And so that almost becomes feeling like a sense of failure, or we start to feel like, what's wrong with us? Because we both want the same thing, but why is somebody else sitting next to me, getting their success? And I'm just sitting here week after week, on the struggle bus. So we got to start by recognizing maybe we're going too big or wanting something too big, but then discounting all the small successes along the way, forgetting to notice that my hands don't hurt when I don't eat so much sugar, or that I slept better because I was moving more, or that I'm feeding myself energy rich foods and not needing a nap all day long. We kind of forget those little wins. And so then all of a sudden National Quitters Day comes along on what, January 9th or something like that. And we're already ready to throw in the towel. So that first sabotage step or reason why we're not seeing weight loss success, especially in the new year with the New Year's goals, is that we want it too fast and we ignore all the small wins.
Yes. We call them non-scale victories at Weight Watchers.
That's right. And the next reason why we lack success, it's the self-doubt and we're kind of lacking clarity on the why. So like I know I want this big number. I want to lose 20, 50, 100 pounds, but then I don't know why I want to lose it. I think it's because I'll be happier when the scale changes. I think I want, you know, to be healthy, but I haven't really dug deep enough. And then I've got what we like to call, the angel and devil on our shoulders of Weight Watchers, but it's also probably just the imposter syndrome, the negative self talk that's in our head, whatever that might be, where maybe I just sit back and think, but I've never lost 40 pounds before. So can I do it? Or maybe I've tried 30 times and my family's just like, oh, you're doing that again? Oh, how long is it going to last this time? And now I start to believe that negativity, those lies, that self doubt grows bigger and bigger. And now when life starts to throw me some curveballs, I think, well, why even try? I've never done it before. I probably won't be able to do it this time.
That negative thinking, and everybody has it.
Yeah. So I guess when you think of that self doubt, or is it the lacking of why, those probably could be two separate reasons, but we're kind of summing them together here for time's sake. Which one do you think you struggled with the most? Was it self doubt, or was it that you didn't have the clarity that you needed when you were first? I know we're both kind of still on our journeys, but at the beginning, what do you think it was for you?
When I first joined 15 years ago, I would say my goal was I thought I'm going to join. My goal was I need to lose 15 pounds. Of course, I ended up losing 50. I did not even remotely, was not, 50 was not on my radar. I thought, well, I'll just do what I've always done. I usually get to 15. I usually stall out. I usually quit. I usually get bored. And then that's that. And something changed. I realized that this was different.
Mhm.
So my thoughts became different. And one of the wonderful things about Weight Watchers is that we do talk about your why. And it
Yeah,
was a meeting workshop that we talked about, well, why do you want this? Why is this so important to you? Because we want things so badly,
right.
but we don't know how to get there. And I'm going to circle back to the first one. We
Yeah.
want things so badly, but we focus is on what we want. We don't focus on what we need to do to get to that want.
Right, so the how we're missing.
Yes, it's the action that you have to take. And without action, it's just a thought that's just rolling around on tape in your head and it gets you nowhere. And I think that can sometimes be where the frustration and the National Quitters Day comes in because you're thinking, I want this so bad and it's just not happening. But the wanting and the thinking is not enough to see results.
Yes. So when you think about the why and the how, I guess I will encourage you as listeners to really think about, if you've had success before, to start to analyze like what worked for you when you felt the most successful in the past, whether it was Weight Watchers that worked for us or some other program, or just you on your own, making a meal plan, whatever that might be. Why, and really kind of continue like 5 whys deep, to continue to ask yourself, like, why 15 pounds? What's 15 pounds going to do for me? What do you mean get healthy? What does being healthy look like? And really find that visual. There's so much research and science out there that supports by having a vision of seeing ourselves accomplishing something, but like draw it out. Like, imagine yourself at that goal weight. How do you dress? What is that version of you? How do they move? How do you walk into a room? How do you carry yourself? How do you order food? What is that version of Erin? Best version, healthiest version of Erin? What's she like? And really continue to see that picture more and get that clear image of that, which can be hard if we've never done it before,
That's
right?
using your imagination.
Yeah.
That's really digging into your imagination, and like you just said, that may be a hard thing for a lot of people to do because if you've never felt that level of success that you're really reaching for, I feel like the self-doubt just automatically just wants to be like, "Ah, no, forget it. Sit down, relax. You don't have to do that. Don't worry about it. You're
Well,
comfortable just where you are."
and it's easier to stay
Yes.
where we are, right? Like, what I know I'm giving another quote here, but it's that idea of like pick your hard. And so
Mm,
sometimes we have to have that reality check with ourselves to be like, it is so hard to meal plan, to
yes.
think about groceries, to journal what's going in our mouth, to, put on the shoes or the weighted vest and actually go for a walk. Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to get on the scale and see what I actually weigh. But it's also hard to not fit into my clothes, to feel out of breath, to not keep up with my family on a walk, to have to wear multiple layers of Spanx to fit into that dress. Whatever those things are, like those are just as hard to give yourself, another shot of insulin. That's hard. And so every day you might have another level of hard of what you're capable of achieving. But once you can decide which hard are you going to pick, you'll either do the work or you're going to sit back and give yourself the grace to be like, I'm okay in this season of life at this weight, not fitting in my clothes, taking medications, going to the doctor, because I don't have the mental bandwidth to do anything else. But the next day you might. And so if you can envision that best case healthiest, best, happiest version of you, go there. If not, go ahead and lean into that negative space. And maybe I don't want to embrace self doubt, but maybe I need to envision what happens if I do embrace self doubt. Where am I going to go? And now I'm not even not keeping up with my family on the walk. I'm staying home from the walk.
Yes.
I'm not participating. I'm
Mm.
staying in my stretchy pants and pajamas all day. I'm not leaving the house. I'm on another medication. I'm less mobile. I'm hospitalized. Like you might have to go dirty in order to pull ourselves back out.
Holidays just ended. Thinking, were you the person who avoided the pictures? Were you grabbing a kid and putting him in front of you?
Yes.
Were you
Yeah.
finding an excuse to go, "Oh, something's burning in the kitchen. I gotta go get that," so that you didn't have to be in the picture? Or were you in that picture, that picture that your sister-in-law takes of you at that really, really attractive angle, and you see it and you think, "Who is that? Oh my
Right.
god."
Right.
We've all had that moment, and digging into either one, it's hard. Both of them are
Right.
hard.
Yeah. So we've thought about we're going too big with just focusing on the scale. We don't have some clarity with our why and we have self doubt. These are huge when it comes to getting in the way of our success. And then comes probably one of our most popular, the all or nothing, unrealistic behaviors, right? Like you talked about, like not having systems in place. This is, I've got all the systems. I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall. What sticks? I'm doing all that. I'm cutting out sugar. I'm cutting out carbs. I'm only eating 6 hours a day. I'm, restricting calories. I'm at the gym multiple hours. It's all the things, and boy, that's not realistic or sustainable, and
I
so
think
how quickly we quit.
that is the January mindset for so many of us. We've
Yeah.
gone from one extreme all December long of eating and drinking and just doing all the things that we think, I have to do it all in order to fix what happened in December. No, 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 no. That is never a good idea. It's
No.
just too much and it's unsustainable. It's unrealistic. We
Yeah.
need to start with small, looking very, very small behaviors, small things to start with. So, Jen,
Yeah.
what's that first small thing that you think?
For me, especially for those of you who've been listening, you realize my son got married last week, and so we had been traveling, and so being out of the house for the last 8 days, my first step is I have to go to the grocery store. And so I've probably even backing up from that, even a smaller step would, boy, like my mind's already racing. Like I want to say I need to make a plan of what I need to get in the house, but probably backing up even further would be let's open up the fridge and clean it out. Because, we have been gone for 8 or 9 days. And so now I don't know what's good and what's not good. And I'd hate to go to the grocery store and then come home and find out, oh, I really didn't have, whatever that's rotten or moldy now. So I think my baby step to get started would be to clean out the refrigerator and just assess.
Yeah.
What
I
about
w
you?
well, last podcast I shared that January 5th was my hard stop on sugar, and somebody said, "Are you saying no sugar all year?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." Wouldn't even make it an hour on January 5th if I was saying all year. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's just for the next few days of next week, it's just cutting out the processed sugar for 2 to 3 days. Because when, my plan B is when the sugar monster comes, I rely on fruit instead. So my first step today is I share this in all my meetings. Had a member who shared that when she buys cuties, she peels them and puts them in Ziploc bags and has them in the fridge. And I was like, that is like brilliance to me, because how many times have you packed it with you in a lunch and then brought it back? It's still intact because, it was messy and you didn't have time. So today is the peeling of the cuties. So
Got
stay
it.
tuned.
How small can we go, right?
Yeah.
And really, we need to remind ourselves that trying to change everything at once is the fastest way to change nothing, right? Like,
It's too overwhelming. It's too overwhelming. And James Clear has a quote about the fact that, most of us think I have to do it every single day in order to see any progress. He says, don't miss twice.
mhm.
Once is life happening, mistake, whatever, life happening. Missing twice is a decision, because missing twice becomes 3, 4, and
Ooh,
suddenly you've let it all go.
it's almost like I'm choosing to stay where I'm at. I'm choosing to not be successful. And boy, isn't that
Mhm.
interesting to, to really look at it from the perspective of it is a choice. And so am I choosing to do the work or am I choosing to stay here and complain? Right? It's really just up to us if we are willing to break things down to small systems, to understand that we've got years of habits that are probably not all helpful habits. And so it's going to be unlearning some well-worn paths through the brain, right?
Those are
Those
neural pathways. Yep.
yeah, they're
Mhm.
well worn. They are strongly connected. And so when you start to doubt yourself or when you start to feel like you've already failed, so let's just go ahead and quit, that's the time to just pause, to stop and have that reality check with yourself that what the brain thinks the body follows, but what the brain thinks isn't always truth. And so I need to also
Yes.
slow down enough to be like, okay, wait a second. I just slipped back into that old pathway, but I'm learning this new thing. And so that's so smart of you to realize that giving up sugar means you're probably going to crave something sweet. And so now you have a sweet backup plan. In my workshops, I often talk about the pothole in the road moment. And if you are blessed to not live in the Midwest where maybe states take care of their roads a little bit better than we see here in the Chicago suburbs. But there's some potholes near our neighborhood that those holes are pretty darn deep. There used to be one by one of our local Weight Watcher buildings that you and I both worked at. And boy, if you forgot and took a corner too fast, you are slamming into this pothole and your whole car is jumping up and down. I'm sure it's doing some kind of damage to our tires or our shocks or our struts or whatever car term it is. But either way, it's not getting fixed overnight, just like the scale's not. And so if we can start to think of it as a pothole in the road that I'm aware of, and now what am I going to do so that I'm not damaging my car? If I know it's there and the city's not coming out to fix it, I either need a plan to drive through slowly so that I'm not damaging the car, proceed with caution. I need to find a way to circle around it, right? Hopefully, there's no other cars in the way, no other life getting in the way that I can do a little bit of a rerouting. Or maybe, is there a whole nother route so I'm not even turning down that street?
Like
Right? And
that.
I think when
Yeah.
it comes to our eating, we have to see what keeps getting in the way. Is it the sugar? Is it craving sweets? For Erin, it is. So she's seeing her pothole. and she's got her way around it. Now,
Yes.
some members might say, some of you listeners might say, well, I'm okay with, added sugar if it's in, I don't know, yogurt or let's say dairy. Okay, well, you're proceeding with caution. Maybe Aaron's going to do a little bit of driving around it with, I'm going to have my natural sugar. And some of you are taking a whole nother street. But we gotta also look at it like, stop bringing it in the house then, right? Then I can't have cookies in the house and not expect to slam into that pothole and give into them because the habit is to grab the cookies. Or whatever situation or example you wanna use, late night eating, why am I not exercising? Why haven't I had any protein today? Why do I hate water? Fill in the blank of whatever your struggle is, but identify it and kind of figure out that first baby step of what do you wanna do about it.
Yeah. So this time, at this point, we want to ask our listeners, what has resonated with you? Which one of these pitfalls can you say, yeah, I am totally that is me? Or what is something that maybe you feel like we haven't mentioned that you're like, yeah, you forgot to mention this. This is another pitfall that many of us fall into. We wanted to try to keep this video short, but Jen and I, once we get talking, we just can't seem to stop. But, go Bears.
That's right.
We're supporting our team today. Woo! They're gonna beat the Lions today,
Lions.
right, Jen?
I hope
Yay!
so. I hope
Yay!
so. Yeah. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend who keeps starting over and subscribe for more real conversation about health beyond the scale.
So, to all of our Weight Watcher listeners, thank you for joining us. We're going to put a link in if you're interested in finding out more about joining Weight Watchers. You can go ahead and click that link right below. This is a 2-part episode, so next week we're going to be talking about what we think really works.
That's right. So stay tuned. I'll be coming up shortly with a little bit of a Jen's coaching corner.
Yay! Go Bears!
Welcome back to another edition of Jen's Coaching Corner. This week, I want to look at what the holidays taught us. They can feel like a lot, right? Physically, emotionally, mentally, and you're not alone. So before rushing into all of our holiday New Year's resolutions, new goals, new you, all of that nonsense, just pause. Because the moment right there when you can be quiet with your thoughts, that's when the real learning begins. I don't want to look at this for judging ourselves, but really just noticing what our body had been trying to tell us over the last few weeks. So let's start with what didn't go as planned. You didn't slow down like you wanted to. Maybe we thought we were going to have better boundaries and didn't. We said yes over and over again. Maybe food, sleep, and stress all just started feeling a little bit harder than expected. Don't call it failure. Just ask yourself the question, why was it harder than I thought it was going to be? Because our midlife bodies respond differently to stress, late nights, skipped meals, and emotional overload. And don't forget the sugar. It's not weakness, though. It's just feedback. And that feedback is what will help us make better choices moving forward. All right, flip the script. What worked? Look at things that happened that went the way that you planned, even if they're itty bitty. Did you take a walk to clear your head? Did you eat protein or at least have one balanced meal a day? Did you think and pause to recognize if your body was satisfied after a meal? Maybe you just declined an invitation that you just felt like you didn't have the bandwidth to handle. Or did you take a nap without any guilt? If it worked once, it counts. Also ask yourself, how did it feel after I did those things? Because that answer is going to tell you exactly what's worth keeping and continuing to carry on into 26. We have to connect the dots on what worked or what didn't, or we're not going to know what to fix. So instead of starting January with a bunch of rules and restrictions, just try this. Choose that one thing that supported you and keep it. Not perfectly, not saying you have to do it forever. Just be consistent so that your body can learn to trust yourself. Because we're not starting over. We're just learning what works in this season of our life, and that's the real progress. Need extra accountability as we head into 26? If so, consider working with me. I'm a certified health, wellness, and life coach. I'm part cheerleader, part tough love, and all coach. And I want to help you succeed. Don't forget to like and subscribe and be here next week for another episode of Life Beyond the Scale, the podcast. Happy New Year.
Click to subscribe or watch the next video.